Hi, everybody. I'm Jennifer Valoppi. I'm the founder of the Women of Tomorrow Mentor and Scholarship Program. At Women of Tomorrow, we work to uplift the lives of at-risk young women in public high schools by teaching life skills and pathways out of poverty. I'm also an almost 30-year veteran of television news in New York, Los Angeles, and Miami. And so the Jennifer Valoppi podcast actually brings it all full circle for me. I want to make the life-changing content like we teach at Women of Tomorrow available to women of all ages, everywhere, anytime. This show basically exists to share honest conversations and meaningful stories about turning obstacles into opportunities and helping you become a person you've always dreamed of. It's all about women helping women. And today's guest is Shrankhla Holecek. Shrankhla is the founder of Uma Oils. It's an Ayurvedic and holistic approach to skincare. She's also the president of the world's largest producer of organic essential oils. She was also, before that, a senior client executive at McKinsey. And welcome, Shrankhla. Great to have you here.
Jennifer. Very honored and excited to be here.
So your products, and I should mention that you are also a board member at Women of Tomorrow.
I indeed am. Should have led with that.
Yeah, there you go.
It's the position I hold dearest to my heart.
Well, there you go. So Uma Oils is basically sold, everywhere. You're in Saks, you're in major department stores, you're at the Beverly Hills Hotel. Where else can people find Uma Oils?
We do a lot of work with the Four Seasons Hotels, Mayborn Hotels, Belmont Hotels. We do try to bring Uma Oils outside of retail in experiential ways, such as hotel spas. So you will find us in some of those places, as well as wellness establishments like Goop and other online luxury boutiques like Net-a-Porter.
Okay. So I said that it's an organic Ayurvedic form of treatment. Explain what Ayurveda is too.
I will certainly try, because we're going back 5,000 years and thousands of years of women and men's work in this field of holistic, wholesome medicine, as well as a way of life. And even though I'm at the helm of a product company that makes essential oils that go into Ayurvedic products, Ayurveda is much broader than product. It is a way of life. It actually stands for the science of life. And it's part of scriptures that guide human beings on a way of life, on a way of eating, on a way of thinking, on a way of existing in the environment that surrounds us. So many of us have interacted with Ayurveda in ways such as yoga or turmeric lattes or ashwagandha, adaptogens. All of these come from Ayurveda. But when you think about the system, it is an umbrella system that tells you or guides you how to live in balance with your body and with the environment and thrive. One of the things about Ayurveda that comes up a lot, but is also very esoteric and dense, is the concept of doshas.
So this comes from your tradition, your ethnic tradition in India, right?
That is exactly right.
So
yes.
How many doshas are there?
There are 3 doshas. A large majority of us present as 1 or 2 dominant doshas at birth. But the thing to keep in mind is all 3 doshas exist in all of us at any given moment of time, and the doshic balance in one goes up and down with a variety of interventions in one's life. What you're eating, if you're very stressed, if you're traveling a lot, with age, with weather, with seasons. So think of doshas as something in movement, but staying true to the dosha that you were constitutionally predominantly born with is the place that you will be most in balance. And almost like a Myers-Briggs type, nothing is good or bad. They're all beautiful, and they're all a little bit tricky and troublesome when out of balance.
Okay, well, that makes actually a lot of sense because I remember looking at the doshas before, which really are determined by body type, right? Are they
Yes.
determined?
In fact, the body type is a manifestation of the predominant dosha.
Okay.
So if you're vata dominant, you tend to be smaller, drier, drier hair, almost frizzier hair.
Okay.
Pitta types have medium skin, medium build. Kapha types tend to be great hair, taller, stronger bones.
Okay.
And that's often how these predominant dosha types play out.
And then there's specific diets for each dosha, right?
That is exactly right. So if you are a predominant dosha, a certain kind of food group is going to help keep that in balance, and a certain type of food group is going to exacerbate the imbalance. For instance, the vata dosha, the creative types, but also the anxious types, tend to not do very well on very dry foods. They would do well with something unctuous, warm, oily, as opposed to sodas and popcorn and cold water.
Okay.
Whereas pitta types that are fire and water types should steer clear of spices. I actually love spices, and I know exactly why, because that's my pitta imbalance. I'm a pitta dominant type. But because of the life I live and constant travel and sometimes not keeping it in balance, my body starts to crave spices at the time they're probably the worst for me. So keep staying clear of spices or eating them in moderation, and specific spices, especially like peppers. Pitta types should steer clear of those and stick with cooler and cooling foods like coconut oil, asparagus, bland things, bitter things are great for pitta types. And finally, kapha types, which are earth and water, so heavy, stable, leaders, dominant personalities. Those do well with things that light the fire in their belly and keep their metabolism going. So spices are actually quite good for them. Oils, very much in moderation. So based on your dosha predominant type, there is a body of foods among grains, and that's a much longer conversation, but this sort of gives you a pathway to start exploring.
Yeah, and you can look a lot of this stuff up on the internet. There's a lot of information available out there. So tell me about the oils, the Uma oils, and I love the smells of Uma oils, but I love that whole Indian smell of things, that is I find extremely appealing, which is what are the predominant spices that go into that, or flowers or herbs or whatever, that give that really wonderful Indian smell to things?
And Jennifer, I will address the fact that you mentioned that you love these aromas, and in the time I've known you, I have thought of you as someone who's very much in touch with body and emotions. And very often that's a tell for us that people drawn to aromas and using that as a pathway to well-being are very well served by Ayurveda, because that's the first step in responding to your emotional and physical well-being. And sadly, we find oftentimes we become so disconnected by listening to our body. So I did want to call out that the fact that you lean into your instinctive love of certain aromatics and certain rituals tells me something positive about being connected to what your body is telling you. And with that, and again, listening to one's body draws one to certain aromas and textures that the body needs. We use a lot of rose oil in our products. We use a lot of geranium, jasmine, a lot of products or ingredients that are very good for mental well-being. But interestingly, not everyone loves the same aromas. Some people will be very drawn to our pure energy essential set of essential oils, which are basil, ginger, mint, whereas the others will prefer rosier, more geranium, or another lot would prefer the earthy scents like chamomile, vetiver.
Right.
And very often this tells you what your body might need at a given point of time in terms of aromatherapeutic needs.
So we have a couple products here. I wanted to show them because I use them all the time. So let's take a look. So this is some of the anti-aging face oil. This is one of the oil candles. Okay. So tell us about these products. This is, what is this? The toner. Okay. Tell us about these products and why they're different and special.
So one of the things you already touched on is everything is 100% organic. And in keeping with the Ayurvedic tradition, not only do we steer clear of chemicals and preservatives, we also grow each of our plants in the Ayurvedic tradition, in that we rely minimally on artificial irrigation. We don't harvest things after sundown. We try to preserve plant energy as much as possible to lend vitality to every ingredient.
You don't harvest after sundown.
We don't.
Why is that important?
Because plants, just like human beings, have a sun cycle where they sleep and rise with the sun. As the evening comes, plant energy starts to wind down, and a plant should not be disturbed at night while it rejuvenates.
Okay.
So that is the belief in the Ayurvedic system, that we don't overharvest. And in fact, after every 2 cycles, we actually replant, because we could harvest a plant 3, 4, 5 times, but the vitality and the energetic therapy that plants serve starts to dwindle after 2 harvest cycles. Okay. So there are things that we take care of even at the plant rearing and harvesting level. But then once it goes from the farm onto our distillery, where it gets distilled into essential oils, we carefully architect each oil from a blend of 9 to 11 ingredients.
Okay.
8 or 9 essential oils specifically put together for the powers they bring to the blend. For instance, rose oil is considered nature's hyaluronic acid. It helps retention of moisture in the skin. Frankincense essential oil works a little bit like a retinol, and natural retinol, in that it helps with cellular turnover and helping strong cells thrive longer. We think of sandalwood as a hydrocortisone, in that, again, it's not a hydrocortisone. It works to calm the skin, kind of like a hydrocortisone does. Pomegranate oil has been very studied in research because of punicic acid, which boosts collagen under the skin. So each ingredient is pulled together for its very specific benefits, and in a way that the sum of the parts is bigger than the whole. And in there is where our crafting expertise and thousands of years of Ayurvedic wisdom and 800 years of formulating for the royal family in India comes into play. We have served hundreds of thousands, millions of people over all this time. So we really understand how specifically to handle skin conditions and wellness conditions and body conditions, hair fall conditions, in a way that we're serving them in a wholesome way using entirely plant-based products.
Yeah, I didn't realize, I just read that actually about you, that your family were the physicians to the royal family of India?
That is true. We still are. And now there is the interplay of Western medicine and Ayurveda, as I believe should exist in all our lives. Ayurveda was created and perfected over a time. There wasn't as much pollution. People were not getting hit by cars.
Right.
We weren't flying around and getting headaches. So listen, you're having a tough day, take that Advil. But if you have headaches 7 days in a row, ask yourself, why is my head hurting? Could I try an Ayurvedic intervention? Should I not be eating something? Should I be meditating more?
Yeah, well, I think that there's also, the food intolerances or the things that we're exposed to, the chemicals and everything on a daily basis that can cause a lot of health issues for people, in particular headaches and things like that. But so you see a lot of stuff on the internet about different oils. I know there's a particular oil that I keep seeing the ads on about how it gets rid of wrinkles. It's like a body oil that gets rid of wrinkles and stuff, but it doesn't have things like pomegranate oil in it or frankincense, or some of them maybe have frankincense. I'm not sure, but I never seen anything with pomegranate oil. So all those things are in your products. And I mean, why is it that everybody doesn't use all those things?
So great question, and I'm glad it sort of comes right after the anchor point of us serving the royal family with our formulation. So Ayurveda runs across the gamut. There is rose oil, which sits at the top of the food chain in terms of how expensive it is to harvest.
Oh, really?
I say this, it takes 1,000 petals to make 1 drop of rose oil.
No way.
Yes,
1,000 petals?
1,000 petals, which is why it sells for thousands and thousands of dollars per pound. And
Wow.
also, it requires very specialized machinery to extract without getting into too much technical detail. But
Okay.
superfluid critical extraction is how because the rose petal is so delicate, to preserve the aroma of something like that, you have to invest millions of dollars in machinery that can extract the rose. So when you add expertise, ingredient, raw materials, and cost of machinery, it's a very expensive ingredient to make.
But
Orange,
it's in Uma oils?
it's in a lot of Uma oils, and our ability as a luxury line, albeit, to bring it to people in copious quantities is because I have access directly to my own farms without the markups that even our consumers on my family farm side, like Estee Lauder and Tom Ford, will have to pay because you're going through 3 or 4 exchanges down the line. So because we launched Uma with the royal family's portfolio of ingredients and formulations, a lot of rich ingredients like rose, sandalwood, and pomegranate as a carrier oil. So rose, jasmine, sandalwood are essential oils with that fragrance. Pomegranate also, I mean, we eat pomegranates. They're expensive to purchase.
Yeah.
Palm juice is not a cheap indulgence. And they're expensive. But because we make all of this ourselves, we're able to put it in our products. And sometimes you won't find it in other products, which is not to say they're better or worse. They're just different.
Okay. So you grew up in India. Did you grow up on this farm?
I did. So because where my parents live is very rural, I went to boarding school from a very young age in my life, but I would go back 2 months in the summer and 2 months in the winter. So yes, I grew up in part in business in boarding school, and then back at my family farms. India being populated like it is can have a couple million people in a town or a city and still not a single highway. So that's indeed how I grew up.
But you were educated elsewhere.
Yes, I went to an English boarding school at the foothills of the Himalayas and spent some time in England as well.
Okay. And then you went to college in the United States.
I did, yes. And that is actually when I moved to Los Angeles and was going to school, and shortly after working in management consulting for a firm called McKinsey, I was both stretched thin for time and could not lean on my routines like I used to, as well as California being the place it is. People around me were always doing yoga and quite frequently misunderstanding Ayurveda and all the benefits it had to practice, which is where the idea of bringing Uma directly from how I experienced it and how a lot of us live it in India to the consumer.
I want to come back to talking about UMA, but for a minute, let's talk about McKinsey. McKinsey is like the preeminent management consulting firm, right?
I like to think so, yes.
Okay, so tell us what you did there, and for young people in particular, what kind of a career you had and why you chose that.
Um, I'll be perfectly honest. I think I chose it because I wanted to do too many things and I couldn't decide what it was that I wanted to do. Consulting brilliantly offers you the ability to understand a wide variety of industries and a wide variety of functions. I very rapidly got pretty deep in insurance, finance, healthcare, technology, as well as I was serving Fortune 50 clients. I was constantly in rooms with CEOs of Dow 20 companies. And that kind of exposure was both brilliant as well as asked of me. Things that I enjoyed were being asked of me because they forced me to step up. They forced me to challenge myself, to learn fast, to push limits, and also learn confidence and earn confidence in a way that at 24 or 25 years of age, when I first started out as a management consultant for McKinsey, I can't think of very many other things that could have done for me. So I loved my career with McKinsey. I spent 8 years and I left as an associate partner. And I could have carried on going. But I think at that point in my life, I was doing sort of a full circle back to my roots, going back to India, working with my family was a calling that I couldn't ignore for much longer. And that is when I left McKinsey to start UMA.
McKinsey is a company that actually does management consulting for governments, right? And
Chief of staff role was made. McKinsey came up with the chief of the staff role for the president of the United States. So McKinsey has done, I like to think, a lot of brilliant work for think tanks, for nonprofits. We serve the Gates Foundation. We serve United Way. So across a range of brilliant solutions, I like to believe, were architected by McKinsey people working hard.
And McKinsey consultants get paid thousands of dollars an hour, right?
That I will slightly confirm and not fully deny that.
Okay. All right. Well, because I mean, like what an amazing career opportunity for young women. Are there a lot of women in the field?
I would say yes, because and I'm dating myself because I left 7 and change years ago, but there were, if you asked, ways to make it work for you. For instance, I am married and I don't have children, but I did have the opportunity way back when to freeze my eggs and embryos. And McKinsey provided the entire coverage for that. And way back then, it was pretty revolutionary for its
rare.
time.
Yeah.
Yes. So sometimes you take the opportunities that are provided to you, and I looked for them to make McKinsey work for me, my schedule, what I wanted from my life. And I did find that within reason, they were willing to give me that balanced lifestyle. Of course, I would be lying and remiss if I said I left work at 6 p.m. every day. No, that, when you're talking about compensation, exposure, you have to think about the balance that you have to strike within that realm. And going home at 5 or 6 p.m. wasn't part of the package. Sometimes I was traveling in Dallas and I found myself at the gym at 11 p.m. at night after a client dinner. But those are the choices I made, and I'm very glad of them.
Well, I think a lot of times, too, when people talk about life-work balance, if life-work balance is your priority, you're probably not going to have a big career.
I tend to agree with that. And I think that being honest about that reality will serve women well, because I don't think there are right or wrong answers. But and I am a feminist as big as I know them alongside you. And I will say that I sometimes observe gentlemen at work, and there are things that come easier to men, but often I find men working hard for their careers as well.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I think that if we want the careers men have, we've to step up to the plate and work as hard.
Yeah, but they have, I think men maybe have more of an expectation that they're going to have to work hard for their career, where women have the expectation, have always had the expectation that they were going to have to work super hard historically, and always have. But then, you know, recently there's been sort of this trend toward a work-life balance kind of thing. And I just don't know if that's really realistic. You know, I think it's realistic to have a certain level of work-life balance, but usually that's achieved after you've achieved success, not before you've achieved success, and certainly not while you're achieving success. You know, that's something that comes after, where you can say, okay, I worked my butt off for all these years, and now I can take it a little easier and coast on my reputation a bit.
You're exactly right. You have to have laurels to rely on before you can rely on them.
Yeah.
And nothing comes easy. I think everyone I know that is successful, from an Indira Nooyi to even a Kardashian, has worked hard to get where, completely different paths in life. But people in the government, leaders that are leading Fortune 500 companies, women or men, or top influencers pulling in tens of millions a year, I like to think they work hard and with work ethic and a sense of commitment to the people that they work around.
Yeah, and in a very professional way.
Couldn't agree more.
Very rarely do you see someone successful who does not work on a highly professional level, I would say.
Precisely. And Jennifer, I have never seen you late to a single thing. And that, to me, is just one of the 20 aspirational tells about you in terms of walking the walk and talking the talk. That professionalism is what has kept you so brilliant in the last 30 years.
Well, I think you want to do the easy things, you know, right? You don't want to mess up the easy things, and showing up somewhere on time is certainly one of them. You know, I mean, I tend to think that, you know, of course, that's also a function of the fact that I worked in television news that was live television, you know, for almost 30 years. So if I was 30 seconds late, you know, I was fired. You know?
Well, or we've all seen Ron Burgundy. When they put someone else in front
right.
of the camera.
When the stage manager is counting you down from 10 seconds, you can't say, oh, hold on for a minute, I'll be right back. You know, you're on the air. So I learned how to be on time in that respect. But I also believe that a lot of the things that we do are really just basic common courtesy, you know, because it's if it matters to someone that you're on time. Some people are accustomed to, you know, just show up when you get here, or they give you a half hour or whatever. But it's a matter of courtesy to the other person to be on time, I think, and especially for work. I mean, when people show up late for work and they're expected, and people are looking for them at a meeting at 9:00 and they're not there, you know, that's never a smart thing to do for a young person or anyone in their career.
And I shudder to have to say it out loud. Being late for interviews is something I find is more commonplace than it was 15 years ago when I was starting my career as a management consultant.
Right.
It's baffling, but it is happening, and I'm sorry, it's a complete no-no.
I always want to ask professional women, were they ever sexually harassed? Is that something that you ran across?
It's a great question. So, and something that I think about a lot recently against the background that I'm going to share. There were attempts, and I rebuffed the attempts successfully. And I feel fairly conflicted about, I didn't report the attempts because I was able to rebuff them for a variety of reasons of, for lack of a better word, privilege. I felt confident in my relationship with my husband. I was well supported with my family. I felt that in my career as a consultant, the worst thing that could happen, such as being let go, wasn't the worst thing that could happen. And so I was able to laugh it off or ignore it or tell the gentleman to walk on and I will join him later and a type of thing. So yes, there were attempts to test my boundaries, such as I had a gentleman show up to my hotel room. I spent 4 days on the road with McKinsey, asking if I wanted to grab a drink. And this is probably 12:30 after a client dinner. And I said, well, I'll be happy to join you for a drink downstairs. Why don't you take the elevator down? I will see you there. Now, in hindsight, did he probably go on and attempt that with 10 other women till he was probably reprimanded or fired? Possibly. And I feel potentially conflicted about not having reported it, but I sensed no harm, no foul, but I think there may have been harm, even though it wasn't directly to me. So yes, it was part and parcel of being a woman in business at least 15 years ago. Today, as president and CEO of my company, I encounter it. I don't encounter it, but I definitely did early on in my career. Yes.
I always find the issue of sexual harassment to be an interesting thing because I think most all women were sexually harassed at maybe one point or attempted to be sexually harassed at one point. I never particularly perceived it as harassment. I think the really important thing is for women, especially young women, to have the confidence in themselves that they can say, no, this is unacceptable, go away, and or make a joke of it, make light of it if it's a boss or something like that, and put a clear stop to it with a clear boundary so that hopefully nothing ever happens again.
We are our ultimate protectors there and then, and a firm no might take sort of all the air out of that person's wings, of course, barring situations where you're in a truly unsafe position and the person is possibly unhinged, can actually go a long way in protecting yourself. And it comes back to trusting yourself, just knowing that you'll land on your feet.
Right. So let's get back to Uma Oils a little bit. So when you did this transition, starting a company, and I realized, your family did have these organic farms, but you decided to start this company because you couldn't find what you wanted in California, in LA. Is that what it was?
Uma is very, very unique and niche in many senses. The ingredient profile, the focus on oils, as well as the educational background. Even though we have a product company that I like to think makes delightful oils,
right,
I would be remiss if I said you can't benefit from Ayurveda unless you used our products. Because, and that sometimes felt like the missing piece. So I wanted to make sure we put a foundation there for people. So we do a lot of Ayurvedic education, so possibly nobody else who could do it the way we could.
Talk to me about oils versus creams. Okay, I mean, this is a face oil. I was putting it on my hands a few minutes ago because I happen to love this oil. But this is the absolute anti-aging face oil.
It's the eye oil, yes.
Okay, it's the eye oil. See, I can't read that. Okay, so no wonder it was thick. I was putting it on my hands. Prior to using a lot of the Uma products, I was always using creams on my face, right? So talk to me about creams versus oils.
I want to start out by saying that they are different, not better or worse.
Okay.
And within each domain, you will find good and bad of each. And I'll try to touch quickly on each. creams and lotions very often are able to stabilize ingredients that are either water-based.
Okay.
So oil-based oil dissolves in oil, but there are certain ingredients such as vitamin C or an actual hyaluronic acid that only survive in the water medium and need a certain preservative to extend life.
Okay.
A conversation for another time. That vitamin C is notoriously unstable. So I actually recommend to people they batch their own vitamin C every week.
How would you do that?
With a pure vitamin C ingredient.
Crystals?
Crystals that you will buy on a lotion crafter. And
well, I have vitamin C crystals like that I take every day that I put in my water.
So they tend to, the ones that you're taking probably have a little bit of sugar. You can actually
No, they have no sugar.
Then you can very likely batch them in a little bit of distilled water with a little bit of glycerine, should you choose. That's the best vitamin C you can do for yourself.
No way.
On a week to 2 week basis, because that ingredient is notoriously unstable.
Wow.
Just a thing to throw out there.
Okay.
And the potency you will see in the first couple of weeks. Same thing for ferulic and a few other ingredients that are very good for brightening. They decompose fast, but with that, all of that said, they can't survive in an oil medium. So they have to be batched in water, and very often you'll find them in lotions and creams, and they serve a purpose. But lotions and creams also have occlusives, preservatives, and sometimes can clog pores depending upon how well made they are. Again, not all, but some can. So oils and lotions and creams can serve very different purposes. In fact, sometimes I'll ask that you combine them, especially in a vitamin C situation or in a situation where the weather is really cold. And especially if you're using a pomegranate-based oil, which is very lightweight, it'll absorb into your skin. You might need, you're in Montreal, you might need something occlusive that actually sits and actually prevents moisture loss, because in that weather you might need something. In Aspen, you might need something. So,
or California, where it's very dry.
You're actually right. I just got back yesterday and I'm dry all over. So they work in different fashions. Oils have the beauty, done right, they will absorb right into the skin. The skin's outermost layer is actually made of lipids. So skin recognizes lipids and oil as its own. And a well-done oil in pomegranate or jojoba will feel super lightweight and soak right in with all its actives. And if you're someone who's very allergic to stuff, because we don't use any nut oils, chances are these oils will be so pure and absorbent. People going through illnesses, people going through pregnancies, for them, oils can serve as a panacea to sort of avoiding things that are making you break out or making you allergic. So different strokes sometimes need to be combined for the most optimal result.
Can a teenager use oils on her face?
If it's the right oil. So I would recommend a jojoba or a grapeseed-based carrier oil only. For, in fact, grapeseed actually has an antioxidant that actually thins sebum, and in studies has actually shown to improve inflamed acne-prone skin, because it will actually thin out thick sebum.
Grapeseed oil.
People who break out more make thicker sebum than people who don't. It's just how their sebum produces and then traps oil, dirt, and dead skin.
What is sebum?
Sebum is your skin's natural oil. Okay. So, and it's very necessary for functioning. It keeps the skin waterproof, and it actually keeps you young. But in certain ages, that sebum is so thick that it actually traps oil, and along with hormones will lead to breakouts. Grapeseed can thin that out, but steer clear of coconut. Within oils, we have the comedogenic scale that goes from 0 to 4. Stick with oils that are 0, which are very thin, like jojoba, grapeseed. or maybe a 1. An avocado can sometimes feel 0 to 1, but steer clear of anything that's a walnut, coconut, sesame. Those will be occlusive. But as we get older, those can actually work on some ladies and gentlemen very well. Some people swear by coconut.
I use coconut oil to take my makeup off, and I have for many years now. I haven't used an eye makeup remover, and I wear a lot of mascara. I haven't used an eye makeup remover in a million years. It's like I just use coconut oil and just like regular coconut oil and put it on and wipe it off with a wet washcloth kind of thing.
And it works
But I'm
brilliantly.
older, so it's like I'm not a 20-year-old, and I'm not a teenager. So
I would say that even teenagers will be able, some gifted teenagers will be able to tolerate coconut right out the gate.
do you wear foundation on your face?
Not a ton. I will do my eye area, and sometimes if I'm getting hyperpigmentation, which I can because I'm darker skinned, especially in the Miami sun, I'll cover it up. But no, I typically will not wear foundation in the day. I sometimes will wear it for a gala at night, if you will.
Because you have such flawless skin, and no, but I mean, I've always noticed that about you. You have such flawless skin, and you use oils on your face. Do you use the face oil? Is that what you use, the basic face oil you have?
I do the absolute anti-aging face oil, or I actually do the flawlessly firming neck oil.
I don't think I have any of that.
I can't believe you don't, because something like...
Well, that's a problem.
We will repair that problem immediately. But that brings in... So the thing between face, eye, and neck, thickness of skin is very different. Eye tends to be thinner. Which is why you see dark circles, because it's pooled blood, which is why it also wrinkles faster because it gets drier. And the neck area is very delicate, which is why it also wrinkles faster because there are also less fat pads under here. So our neck oil and our neck serum and our eye oil tend to be more robust in that they bring in more carrier oils. And the neck oil brings in tamanu oil, which is a little odd smelling, but it is nature's potent elixir for firming skin. So
really,
yes, tamanu oil, and we mix it with jasmine and others, so you'll still get like a slightly interesting smell, but it is a powerful oil that does very many things for the neck. So I love sort of the oil, neck décolleté, little gua sha, just as I'm like going to bed, or a kansa wand. So just getting a kansa wand. It's this Ayurvedic tool that is made of a brass top that helps absorption of oil and actually balances excess water retention and so on in your skin, but really helps you get into pressure points.
Really?
So yes, a kansa wand or a gua sha, beautiful way of self-care.
Which is basically, the gua sha is just really to clear out the lymph nodes, right? Is that?
And also it can sort of firm skin, because light damage to the skin actually brings skin's regenerative properties back.
Right.
The way we work very often with anything mainstream like acids or microdermabrasion, as well as cosmetic surgery, you damage the external layer, which forces the body to repair. And and I say this word carefully, don't go scrubbing your skin and damaging it. Micro tears can help the skin repair itself.
Well, like those rollers, the little, I don't even know what
dry
you call them, with the
brushes.
little rollers that have the little prickly things, and they make little micro holes in your skin, right?
You're totally right. Microneedling, that's the concept.
Microneedling, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And dry brushing is good for the same reason? Is that
exactly. What they'll do is create micro tears everywhere that will force the skin to do what it does, repair itself.
And what are the best oils for your body?
I bring in 3 or 4 on the essential oil side, like grapefruit, which really helps superpower skin turnover inside and outside, so lymphatic turnover. I love neroli because of its aroma profile. So it's like...
Neroli?
Yes.
I've never heard of that.
It's actually made from orange blossom. And, on the cost side, it's about 1,000 times more expensive just because it comes from the blossom. But it's this beautiful smell. Tom Ford uses our neroli in his perfumery. Reminds you of southern Italy, if you will.
Okay.
Because you smell that a lot down there. And it's this sensual, beautiful scent. So I love it on the body where you can use a little bit more fragrance. And in terms of oils, I actually like grapeseed on the body. I like a little bit of jojoba on the body, and I like moringa. It can actually balance female hormones. Moringa is also taken as an Ayurvedic supplement to enhance fertility. So that's a carrier oil I also like for the body.
Okay. And is all of that in your body oil?
It is.
Okay.
And on our butters, we'll throw in things like avocado butter and things that I also love for the body. But yes, that is all in our body oil.
What do you think is the biggest mistake that women make when they're trying to fix different problems in their skin?
I would say two. One is there's a tendency to overstrip the skin in seeking sort of that great, dewy, perfect skin. And that's almost always the wrong answer, because you're taking away the body's mechanisms to heal itself. You're stripping it of natural oil, natural moisture, and then it's working that much harder to keep it supple. So overstripping, over exfoliating, too much hot water, too much abrasion is one mistake I see happening often.
Alcohol to dry things out. That
Precisely.
Kind of stuff. Yeah.
Oil inside and out tends to be your friend because your skin naturally produces it. And the second thing is not listening to that inner intuition of your skin. A kapha type skin does well with a little bit of herbal steaming with mint, whereas a vata type skin may not like steam. And I bring up an example just because we live in fad culture. Every day, X is the it ingredient and Y is out. And losing focus of what your skin and your hair thrives in, and jumping ingredient after ingredient while letting your skin not adapt or forgetting what it loved because you're now on to the next thing.
Right.
Is the second big mistake I see people constantly making. Yeah. So know what it loves, and within reason, continue to experiment and change, but stick with that core set of friends that your skin has in terms of cosmetics.
Ayurveda really teaches a lot of different things about listening to our body and paying attention to our body. You talk about it from a skin, but that's also from an eating standpoint and even the way you dress, isn't it? Or
you're completely right. Individuality and balance are the two things that if I could leave you with, I would, in the sense, because the individuality part goes back to your predominant dosha and food, lifestyle, the kind of yoga, the kind of breathing meditation, the kind of skincare products. Yes, colors, gems, all of that. We won't have time to go through all of those, but those are things that you might want to look into. And the interesting part about figuring those out is even without professional help, if you start listening to your body, you will start to feel a certain way around certain foods, and you'll know when you're out of balance. And listen, The reality of life is we will be out of balance. The trick is to be more in balance than out of balance. And that's also balance.
Okay. So let's switch gears a little bit and talk about Women of Tomorrow.
Let's.
You are a board member at Women of Tomorrow, but you're also a mentor.
I am.
So tell me, and you've been mentoring for a while, tell me what your mentoring experience is like. And just for everybody to know, we mentor small groups of girls, and it's all accomplished professional women, and we mentor small groups of girls in the public schools during the school day. They actually get out of class to come to our Women of Tomorrow sessions. What has the experience been like for you as a mentor?
I think one of the things I realized pretty quickly that was different from what I had expected was across a class size of 30 to 35 people. That's always been my mentee class for the 4 years since I moved to Miami. You will see such distinct personalities, distinct motivations, distinct ways of asking for help that It's challenging and gratifying in a very profound way. And it took a little bit of getting used to. But when you start to be able to get through to a person who doesn't know how to ask for help, it is a very humbling and powerful feeling at the same time. Whether it's a loud personality that is disruptive in sessions, or it's someone who will never say anything in class. But as you start to get to know them through their questions or their individual approaches to you, it can feel like a very deep human connection, which makes my mentorship sessions something that I find so gratifying in such a big way. So that is something that I was surprised by. But I have honestly loved the excitement with which the 35 girls come to that 90-minute session and participate and grow and come into themselves from the 9th grade to the 12th grade. This is the first class I've seen go through. It is remarkable and beautiful to watch, and like nothing else that I have done.
What's the biggest advice they seek? On what?
It's a good question. You know, at the surface level, it's advice around access. I would love to hear more about a certain career. I would love to hear a panel that speaks about anything from financial management to entrepreneurship to nursing. I'm a mentor at the Law Enforcement Officers Memorial, to detectives and law enforcement. That is I would say, the most commonplace ask. But over time, you will start to see people navigating tougher decisions, colleges, scholarships, changing their mind about a career field that they may have set out to do, and exploration they are not finding useful, or sometimes asking about the realities of the world. My personal situation is forcing me to take a year off to work at Target. How do you feel about that? Do you think I'll find my feet back? And while one always wants to address that question, what Women of Tomorrow empowers me to do as a board member as well as a mentor is give them choices. Are you sure you need to take a year off? Why can we not talk about part-time starting out? Or if you did decide to take a year out, let's make sure you don't lose focus. And with the plethora of both opportunities, and having gone through over 30,000 women in our program, there's so much access to every permutation and combination that I'm always able to find an answer I feel good about giving over 2 or 3 interactions with some of these more challenging, nebulous questions.
So what's your best advice to young women looking to succeed in, a changing and always difficult world?
I think the one constant that stays is you. So being yourself and trying to stay authentic, often in the face of a world now more than ever with all the pressures of social media and whatnot, is likely to take you the farthest. And without going into conversations about spirituality or any of those things, I do think all of us are born very unique, with a unique imprint. Kind of like Ayurveda says that your dosha type is unique to you. That is the place in the world I think you're meant to occupy. So the more authentic you can be to that individual, the greater your chances of shining are. And also the fewer questions you might have about choices that you will have to make every day in your life. So authenticity and knowing thyself is sort of the thing that I tell myself every day, even, 40 years in, that staying true is the best service I can do to myself, my peers, my family, my business.
Know who you are. So what would be one belief that you had to learn to step fully into your power?
The complex a lot of women have around a combination of feeling like a fraud and not good enough, and they're not going to like me. And they manifest in this three-headed snake ready to bite you along the way. And it's a journey every day, but the minute I stopped trying to please everyone, starting with my parents. I think my mother was in my head until my early 20s, years of therapy, or proving to men I worked with at McKinsey that, my vision of success will look like what you thought it should be. And basically breaking down others' expectations of me or what is likable. And again, it's a daily reminder, but that is the one thing that allows me every day to show up and be myself and change lives, at least in my business. That was the only thing that allowed me to do that.
Well, few people want to think of themselves as an egotist, but it takes a strong ego to get things done.
You're completely right. That vision and belief in yourself is when you're able to prescribe a way of life or a way of doing things to others.
Wonderful place to end this interview. We'll do it again, I'm sure. Thank you so much, Shrankhla. So nice to see you. Shrankhla Holecek, the founder of Uma Oils.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you for creating Women of Tomorrow. It's a very personally meaningful organization for me.
Let us know one thing from today's episode that resonated with you, and send it to us on my social media at Jennifer Valoppi or in the comments, and we'll post and read your responses to hopefully help other women who might have missed some of our content today. Every episode we do ends with a micro action. That is something very simple that you can do right now to improve your life and move yourself forward a little bit more today. Today's micro action is to think of one obstacle you had in your life and focus on how you overcame it and how you can apply that to your life today. Remember, every step you take takes you one step closer to your future. And finally, we support the Women of Tomorrow Mentor and Scholarship Program, as we've been telling you, and the thousands of young women who are served through our program's mentorship, education, and access to opportunity. If this conversation at all inspired you, please subscribe, follow me on social media at Jennifer Valoppi again, and learn more about Women of Tomorrow at womenoftomorrow.org. Your donation can help us change the world one young woman at a time. And don't forget to follow Uma Oils. Thank you for listening.